Hexcellent Pony Island is a damn tough act to follow, but somehow Daniel Mullins Games has managed to knock it out of the park with this, The Hex. It's a game about 6 video game characters from yesteryear who are all holed up in a bar in a discreet location, and as you can see from the footage here, they soon find out that a murder is afoot. Someone's planning to kill somebody, we don't know who the victim is, but that's what we've got to find out. At least at the beginning. If you've any experience with Pony Island, you'll know that it's due to go off the rails at some point. Things are going to change, and you'd be hard-pressed to accurately predict anywhere this game goes. Now, I'm somewhat loath to show any of it, really, because it's one of those titles that any discussion about is going to have to spoil something. So if anything I've said so far tantalises you, you may be better off going and checking it out for yourself. If not, come along with me and we will discuss a little bit more detail. I'm going to show some footage from around the first half of the game, and even then I'm going to keep some of it cut out so as not to give too much away. But in order to really give you an idea of what's going on here, you're going to have to see some of it. So it starts off as somewhat of an adventure game, walking around, talking to people. There's some light adventure-style puzzle solving with inventory items and stuff like that. That's the foundation upon which it's built, but it goes to all sorts of wild places. Now, all of these characters, if you haven't been able to tell already, are from different genres of game. We've got a fighting game character here. We just spoke to an RPG character. There was a character, presumably, at least suggested to be from a walking simulator, only the hands and the legs are rendered. We've got a Space Marine here, and the one off to the left, fairly obvious, some sort of post-apocalyptic, wasteland, Fallout-style character. Each character has their own story to tell, and you go through each story in sequence. You start off with this character here, Super Weasel Kid, a mascot platformer in the same vein as Crash Bandicoot or Sonic the Hedgehog, I suppose. Or, of course, the beloved and well-remembered Croc from Croc and the Legend of the Gobbos. It's not Legend of the Gobbos, is it? It's Legend of the Gobbos. Why wasn't that on the PlayStation Classic? Oh, well, that thing's easy as piss to hack. You could get Croc Legend of the Gobbos on it if you want. So anyway, back to the Hex. This has already become one of my favourite games, certainly of this year. I played through it all yesterday from beginning to end, couldn't really tear myself away. It's one of those games where the more you play it, the more invested you get, and you just got to find out more. You got to know where this is headed and find out what the ultimate conclusion is. There's lots of little things to do and find within the game. Lots of themes and ideas to pick through if ideas are a good thing to you. Not everyone likes ideas. But here's a first taste of how the game diverges genre-wise. It goes from the adventure game core onto a platformer, a mascot platformer to which Super Weasel Kid hails, from which Super Weasel Kid hails, I should say, to be more correct in a grammatical sense. So everything's cute and lovely. And then you sort of find out how Super Weasel Kid goes from this to where Super Weasel Kid is now, lying on the floor somewhere, sort of dishevelled and upset and a little bit bitter about life. I love this, by the way. The spinny flower, the mountain with his gormless face, the little clouds with their tongues poking out. The visual design is simple but endearing. I like the way all the characters look. They're very distinct, and they look like, even though they all share a very unified art style, they all look like they belong in their particular genre. They're not so divergent that, one's made out of polygons and one isn't. Although, at times, the game does play with different art styles. For the most part, it's this, hand-drawn, resembling, flat 2D look. So there's lots of little references to other games in here, and that runs throughout the entire game. You've got, clear Mario influence in this one with the eyes on things and the Goomba-looking fellas. And throughout, when you get to other genres, there are lots of specific games called out and made fun of, not in any particular nasty way. And then there's this, which is really what the heart of the Hex is about. It's specifically and predominantly, it's about some other things as well, but it's predominantly about user feedback. What gaming communities think of titles, how their input can affect the making of a game, or even the playing of a game. It is the relationship between, and I'm going to sound very pretentious, it's about the relationship, right, between the medium of video games and the heart and the soul of the community and the cultural zeitgeist. I said cultural zeitgeist, everyone. I know what that means, the human condition. Oh dear, negative review. And again, you see what it was doing before, then you go to this, and you're like, yeah, I see what it's doing again now. So this is Bryce's story, a little bit of Bryce's story. Bryce claims to be from a cooking game, but is here as a fighting game character, and you find out, naturally, as you play, what the discrepancy is there. And this one, again, I'm loath to talk about it, but it's specifically about balance, which is always a rich vein of drama among the fighting game community. Which characters are overpowered? Which characters are underpowered? Are there any special moves that need to be buffed or nerfed? And of course, as you try and balance the game, someone's going to get pissed off. You can't keep everyone happy. And even though I'm not in the business of making games, there's a lot in here that I can find relatable. I think a lot of what's said in this game is true of anyone with an audience, anything creative that is designed for people to enjoy. Attempting to keep everyone in your audience happy is a path towards the steady erosion of your own mind. I find that especially pertinent to video making on YouTube, because the YouTube comment section, hello folks, is often very contradictory. Not everyone's agreeing, but there are so many comments, so many people with different opinions. And on YouTube especially, they can get so angry and heartfelt about those opinions. You might see a strong group of people demanding you change something, and if you do try and tweak it and change it, you'll then get another massive contingent of people speaking out and saying it sucks. Not that people shouldn't be criticising, not that people shouldn't be speaking up about what they like or dislike about the things they watch or play, but for the maker of the content, for the content creator, it can be addling, confusing, dizzying at times. I'm not one to have much sympathy for the game industry, obviously. I criticise the hell out of it. I think a lot of what it does as a market is somewhat shameful. Big publishers more than an indie developer like this. But certainly on this topic, when it comes to the actual content being made and what the people enjoying that content think of it, I can certainly sympathise and empathise. You may have noticed we're now in RPG territory, and it's worth noting that Daniel Mullins Games has done a heck of a job making these chapters feel distinct and very true to their genre, while only using the WASD keys and one mouse click, for the most part. That is generally, and I mean, when I say the most part, I mean there's one section where it's a bit different for like a minute, but for the most part it is just 4 buttons and one click of the mouse, and see what's going on the screen there, you see? That deserved sending up, Twitch chat, although this doesn't quite go into how vicious that whole thing can be. When I think about it. The disable button for Twitch chat is possibly the best thing when it comes to big public streams of things. But anyway, just that input, I should say, and a very clever job's been done for making each chapter feel very distinct and very true to itself. And this all leads up to an ending that I won't spoil, of course, but an ending that made me burst out laughing. Not because it was bad, not because it was even all that intentionally funny, although it sort of is. It was just genius. This game is, overall, ingenious. I am very glad I played it. It is witty in places, it is heartfelt in places, quite poignant, actually, especially when it comes to sort of exploring what it must be like, or what it may be like, rather, not what it must be like, because that's not real. What it may be like, I'll just get to what I'm saying, what it may be like to be a video game character. You know, like Tron, but better than Tron. If you can believe such a thing, which I can, because I don't care for Tron very much. And that is the Hex. Better than Tron. How about that? You can put that on your Steam store page. Better than Tron. I wouldn't recommend it, I'm not worth quoting. But anyway, that's the Hex. It is, in a word, hexcellent. Sorry, I just go all a bit jabba-de-ut sometimes, you know, because I'm fat!